Good afternoon. It is Thursday, March 28th. I said yesterday it was the 28th. It was the 27th. I was wrong. I didn't realize until much later in the day when I actually looked at the date. And I was a day off, but that's fine. I get to relive March 28th a second time, which is fine. So here is what's happening in life. The sun is out. That is good. I have finished all of my papers, at least the drafts of everything, and I feel pretty good about the drafts. Everything is under the word count, which is always problem number one for me. So everything is under the word count, and I need to go back through now and fix the citations on all of them, and I need to edit and read them again. Which shoot me in the face. I don't want to do. But I will do that over the course of the next several days. This morning I spent time working on citations for one of my papers. It was a longer process, I think, because I haven't used citation managers or bibliography generators before, and so I was playing around with a couple of them this morning, trying to figure out of the free options which were the best options. So I finally settled on a system to use, and it's what I quickly learned is that none of them are perfect, and even once you create the bibliography, there is some editing that you have to go back and do, and kind of proofing, and also can't do your in-text citations. Thankfully, I did most of my in-text citations pretty well, besides sometimes not having the year off of the top of my head or whatever. So lessons to my future self: always do your in-text citations as you go. And make sure you, format them and everything as you're writing. It will save you so much time and frustration later. So I have one paper's citations done, and then I have a second paper citations half done. I need the bibliography is all created now. I need to just go through the bibliography and double check that it's all formatted correctly and cited in the correct ways. For some reason, some of the authors come up after the title of the thing. I don't know why. So I have to just cut and paste some things. So it's not the worst thing. It is the most annoying and cumbersome thing in the world. But I mean, again, in the grand scheme of life, doing paper citations is not a terrible thing. So I did that this morning, and then I went for a run. It's nice out, so that was good. Now I think I'm gonna go get on the bus and go for a little walk in the park and just enjoy some nature time. I know I've already ran, but I don't know. Outside time is important, and I don't. In London, I'm outside a lot because I'm going to school and commuting and running and all those things that, life gets you outside, but I don't spend nearly enough time kind of in more naturey spaces. And so the park I want to go to, I am hoping, I think it's a little bit bigger, and for at least a few minutes I'll be able to pretend like I'm not in the middle of a huge city. So I'm gonna do that for just a little bit, not too long, and then I'll come back and enjoy my evening, and probably work on finishing the citations for that second paper. So then tomorrow, only 2 papers to do citations for, and that is exciting. I had a thought about a thing that I wanted to talk about, but now I am not remembering. So there it is. Oh, yeah, I know what I want to talk about. I want to talk more about, and I think I talked a little bit about, who knows how long ago at this point, the idea of a geographical cure, in the idea you can get up and move somewhere, and that will suddenly, fix all of the problems that you have. But I mean, in reality, you take yourself with you wherever you go. And the problems that you have in Milwaukee, Wisconsin are the same problems that you have in London, England. They look different maybe, or they manifest in different ways, but they exist still. And like, no matter, like, you can't run from yourself at the end of the day. And I think that's an important lesson to learn. I very much value going places and seeing the world. But it is also a reminder that you have to do a lot of work on yourself, and be mindful of who you are and the things that you're struggling with, and trying to better about yourself. And those things aren't going to change no matter where you are. Putting yourself in a different context and having to rearrange your priorities or what's most critical for that moment does help. But it's a short-term cure, because at the end of the day, you're still you, and the things that were most challenging about yourself will continue to be the most challenging about yourself if you're not actively working by yourself, or in therapy or with other support to correct them. And that's just an important reflection. I don't know, I went for a little walk last night. I had to run to the pharmacy real quick, and while I was waiting for them to fill the prescription, I had like a half hour they said it would take. So I went for a little walk around the neighborhood, and I don't know, I was just thinking about who I was about a year ago at this time, and who I am now, and the self-work I've done in the span of a year, around like my own confidence and my own belief in myself, and my own understanding of my own strength and determination, and my own awareness about the anxiety that I have. I haven't talked a lot about anxiety, but I do have a mild form of anxiety, mild enough that it's mildly medicated, but and that was something new to me last year at this time. I went through a crazy stretch of terrible insomnia, and not being able to, like, I just couldn't ever sleep during the right time for like two and a half weeks. And then it wasn't the first time that happened to me, but it's definitely the most extreme time. And, after talking with my doctor, we did some medicine and some other things to help me kind of address what was going on. And a lot of it is hard self-work, and like reassurance, and everything. I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. Like, I was thinking last night about, could Cassie from a year ago be here in London if that anxiety, and like that level of anxiety, and that level of, like, I guess fear to some extent existed. And I don't think I could be. And it took, I committed to coming to London, but I also at that same time had to commit to getting myself ready to be here. So when I came here, my levels of anxiety and fear were less, and which would give space for other anxiety and fear perhaps, but also give more space for me to feel confident and successful, and like I could, do the work. And it all connects back then to, like, I was reflecting as I was walking, because I was done with my papers last night, and I was just thinking about, through the entire process, writing is a process of self-doubt for me. And you're going, like, is this good? Am I being clear? Like, is my argument good? Am I, a good writer? Like, all of those things continue to surface. And what if what I like to write, or how I like to write, doesn't match with how my exam marker will will like it. But I don't know. So it's just, I am kind of on a long and winding way of saying that coming to London was an important decision for me. And I still have like 5.5 months here. And I already know is really the right decision for me, but also, it hasn't solved all of the crazy things that go on in my head and in some of the fears and anxieties and doubts that kind of continue to persist in my mind. But also making the decision to come to London helped me address some of those, and because I knew I couldn't come if I wasn't well, and the risk has paid off so far. So you can't just up and leave and expect things to be different, but if you commit yourself to it, and you also commit yourself to addressing some of the things that are hard for you or cause you stress and anxiety, and like really commit to it, like I have now like a pretty specific evening routine and like a commitment to a bedtime and like all sorts of like really simple, like practical logistical things that it's not theoretical, like it takes effort and commitment to doing some things differently, but it's also worth it. I don't know. It's a long ramble. See the world, but remember that you take yourself with you, and you need to do the work. Going somewhere else won't be enough. That's, I think, the end of it. Like, going somewhere else will help maybe, or maybe hurt, but you need to do the work. You can't let the location, or expect that the location will do the work for you. All right, well, that's where my mind is today. That's all I got. Happy Thursday. Make good choices.